California is on edge, and you should be too. Just days ago, federal officials confirmed what every freezer could be hiding: 7 frozen pizzas so dangerous that the FDA has been urged to recall and destroy them at all costs. We're not talking about burnt crusts or bland cheese. We're talking about hidden allergens, deadly pathogens, mislabeled ingredients, and factories that slipped through inspections. Think about it. If over 21,000 pounds of contaminated pizzas once spread across 11 states, if nearly 200,000 pounds of E. coli-tainted snacks once sickened dozens of families nationwide, what could still be lurking in your freezer right now? Is California just the beginning, or will this danger spread to every corner of the country? This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. Stay with me. Don't panic yet, because by the end of this video, you'll also know which brands remain safe replacements for every recalled pizza we expose. Number 1. Trader Joe's. Drop everything right now and check your freezer. To all the California shoppers and every American citizen, this news just broke barely days ago, and most of the country has not even heard it yet. The USDA's Food Safety and Inspection Service has sounded a public health alarm over Trader Joe's uncured pepperoni pizza. Imported straight from Italy, these boxes entered the country without a single proper reinspection, and right now they may be hiding in freezers up and down your street. Think of it as letting a stranger waltz through airport security without even showing a boarding pass, then letting them crash on your couch. For older Americans and working families who lean on Trader Joe's as the friendly, affordable neighbor in the food business, this feels like betrayal dressed in cellophane. A pizza meant to be comfort food has turned into something closer to a Trojan horse. One moment you think it's dinner, the next you realize it's a ticking time bomb crouching behind your frozen peas. And the official excuse? A paperwork error. That's like your pharmacy telling you your heart pills skipped testing because somebody forgot to hit print. Mistake or not, it exposes a weak link in the supply chain that none of us can afford. The packaging mark reads, IT1558LUE, once a signal of European standards, now just an empty stamp carrying a shadow of safety. And the silence around this case is perhaps the most terrifying detail. SIS has not issued a full recall, only an alert, because nobody has landed in the hospital yet. But absence of hospital reports is not proof of safety. How many seniors without internet access will keep eating this product, unaware they are playing Russian roulette with every slice? And what about the bigger picture? If pizza slides through, who's checking the spinach, the frozen meals, the imported cheese that so many families trust for quick dinners? If this is happening now, what happens next season when shipments double and inspectors are stretched thinner? Many past scandals prove one truth. What starts as oversight often snowballs into tragedy. Without third-party audits, tougher border checks, and public accountability, we are standing on the edge of a much larger iceberg. Many customers say that this scandal is a spotlight on a system tilted against ordinary people. Corporations and regulators can shrug off paperwork, while seniors living on Social Security are left wondering whether tonight's dinner is safe. It's like a buddy who borrows your car and returns it with the check engine light flashing, pretending it's no big deal. Except this time, the cost could be your health. So what now? Start with your own freezer. If you see Trader Joe's uncured pepperoni pizza marked with the Italian code from June 16th or June 21st, 2025, get rid of it immediately. Toss it or return it. Do not gamble. And then share the warning. Your older relatives, your church community, your neighbors on fixed incomes, they deserve to know before it is too late. And if you're asking, well then, what can I buy instead? Look to chains that have not been drowning in repeated recall drama. Brands like Amy's Kitchen, Newman's Own, or California Pizza, kitchen frozen products still undergo tighter domestic checks. Even Costco's Kirkland Thin Crust line or Whole Foods 365 pizzas show stronger transparency on sourcing than what just slipped through at Trader Joe's. No one is perfect, but some are at least trying harder to keep safety real, not just stamped on cardboard. The larger question we must face together is whether this industry values profit margins more than public safety. And if Trader Joe's does not act with visible reform, what trust will be left standing? California might be the first state caught in the blast, but this story does not end at the state line. It spreads across supply chains, across borders, across America's kitchen tables. So if a pizza can skip the line, what else is already in your freezer waiting to be discovered as the next scandal? Number 2. Pizza John's. Let's turn back the clock and rip open a file most corporations would rather burn. In August 2022, Maryland was rattled by news that Pizza John's, a brand many locals trusted like family, had been pumping out frozen pepperoni pies without the most basic federal safeguard, a USDA inspection mark. Over 156,000 pounds of bake-at-home pizzas were pushed into stores between March 2020 and July 2022. That's not a small slip. That's 2 whole years of unchecked products sliding into America's ovens as if rules were optional. And what was the response when the curtain lifted? Instead of shame or a full-throated apology, Pizza John's simply said they worked with FSIS to resolve the issue. Translation: put a PR patch over a gaping wound and hope no one asks questions. Less than 1,500 pounds of those recalled pizzas were ever recovered. That means over 99% vanished into homes, church fundraisers, and family dinners. The miracle is that the scandal didn't spread louder, faster. The cruel twist is this wasn't about a stray hair in the sauce or a mislabeled allergen. This was a structural betrayal, as if their entire operation was built on invisible paperwork instead of visible safety. Imagine a fire department selling smoke alarms that never ring, then acting surprised when houses burn down. For 2 years, every bite you took was a roll of the dice. What makes it uglier is the silence that follows. No independent audit was announced. No promise to rebuild oversight. No whistleblowers stepping forward with proof of reform. Just corporate quiet, hoping your memory ages as fast as their freezer stock. And here we are, years later, staring at aisles of Pizza John's products and being asked to pretend the past was just a bad dream. Can anyone seriously believe that after hiding in the shadows for so long, they suddenly became saints of food safety? Worse still, whispers from customers never truly stopped. Online complaints described crusts that tasted like cardboard, pepperoni slicked with grease pools, boxes arriving freezer burned right off the shelf. The contrast is brutal. A brand once caught ignoring inspections now accused of cutting corners in flavor and quality. When you stitch these patterns together, doesn't it look less like a redemption and more like relapse? And the hypocrisy is their slogans pushed comfort, tradition, and community pride. Yet their actions treated working-class families like test subjects, gambling on the hope that no outbreak would shine a spotlight. If this is how they ran operations under pressure, what confidence should any families have today when buying a box with their logo? A trusted local name turned shadowy operator, a recall that barely scratched the surface, and a silence that still lingers. Trust was corroded at the root, and if they could hide something this massive once, what makes you think they haven't perfected the art of concealment now? Number 3. Market side. Let's exhume the skeleton from Walmart's frozen aisle that market side wishes you'd bury deep in memory. March 2017 should have been a nightmare that haunted their brand forever. Their extra-large Supreme Pizza, 16 inches of frozen, family comfort, was yanked after RBR Meat Company, their supplier, found contamination with Listeria monocytogenes. Over 21,000 pounds of pizza, spread across 11 states from California to Hawaii, carried the risk of a pathogen that can be fatal for seniors, pregnant women, and anyone with fragile immunity. Yet the scandal was handled with the grace of a magician's disappearing act. Pulled quietly, whispered instructions. To just toss it, and then back to business as usual. But what does that say about the chain's values? Listeria isn't a trivial slip, it's a killer hiding in plain sight. And the way they caught it, through routine sampling, is damning. If you only find rot when you stumble across it, what does that say about your systems? That's like having a smoke alarm that only screeches if you knock it with a broom handle. Walmart and RBR Meat didn't come forward with a full investigation, sweeping reform, or independent verification. They leaned on a loophole. Since no hospital cases were reported, or at least none they admitted, it was business as usual. Convenient, right? For older Americans who leaned on market-side pizzas as affordable indulgence, that's a gut punch. Trust was treated like a perishable item, thawed, reheated, and shoved back in the freezer. No apologies, no transparency. The silence since then has been deafening. Have you seen any promise of stronger inspections? Any public audits? Any detailed safety upgrades? Instead, market-side pizzas keep stacking up in Walmart's freezer aisles, and customers are asked to believe the ghost of 2017 never existed. Here's the twisted irony. This quiet fix may have spared their bottom line, but it scarred their credibility. A pathogen as lethal as listeria gets brushed aside because no one screamed loud enough. It's like trusting a neighbor who once left raw chicken out all weekend, insisting nobody got sick, so what's the big deal? Would you ever hand them your kitchen keys again? And let's not pretend MarketSide has earned forgiveness since then. Shoppers still leave reviews calling the crust cardboard, the toppings greasy, and the sauce bland. Customers report pizzas arriving freezer burned, boxes puffed with frost, quality wildly inconsistent. That isn't reform, it's relapse. When a company promises better safety but can't even guarantee decent flavor, what does that tell you about their priorities? MarketSide wants to be your Friday night fallback, but history says they gambled with public health, minimized the damage, and never circled back to rebuild trust. So when you see that clean white box staring back at you from Walmart's freezer, ask yourself, are you buying dinner, or are you buying into a corporate cover-up that time has not erased? If you need frozen pizza, don't settle for the brand that buried its past under silence. Safer alternatives exist. DiGiorno's crispy pan pizzas, Screamin' Sicilian, Freschetta, or Red Baron all maintain domestic production with more transparent oversight. Even Target's Good & Gather pizzas or Safeway's Signature Select line have shown better consistency in safety disclosures than what MarketSide tried to sweep away. They may not be perfect, but they're not carrying a listeria ghost story on their backs. Number 4. Hy-Vee. Hy-Vee wants you to remember the friendly smile at the checkout and the glossy displays of family value meals. But they'd rather you forget the day their frozen pizzas were exposed for what they really were. A corporate shrug dressed up in melted cheese. 8 varieties of their take-and-bake pepperoni pizzas were recalled because of undeclared soy lecithin, a major allergen that can shut down breathing in minutes. For thousands of shoppers, especially older Americans with fragile health or parents juggling kids with food allergies, that wasn't just a slip. That was Russian roulette with dinner. Think about it. Leaving soy off the label is not some tiny typo. It's like a mechanic forgetting to mention he left your brakes unbolted. And Hy-Vee's handling of the fallout? Pull the pizzas, issue a sterile press notice, then pretend the ovens never smoked. No sweeping reforms, no big apology tour, no evidence of revamped labeling systems. They wanted silence to do the heavy lifting, but silence doesn't heal trust. It festers doubt. That doubt lingers today. If soy was skipped once, what's to stop other allergens from vanishing off the fine print? Gluten, dairy, tree nuts? Shoppers who depend on clear labels shouldn't have to play detective with magnifying glasses in the frozen aisle. Yet Hy-Vee's response suggested that labels were toppings, optional, disposable, there if convenient, and the critics haven't gone away. Customers still mutter on forums about freezer-burnt pizzas, half-melted cheese that tastes like rubber, and a general unease that the company never really took safety seriously. It gets uglier when you zoom out. Hy-Vee markets itself as a community-first grocer, yet what's more anti-community than endangering the very people they claim to serve? Allergies aren't niche. They're life-threatening conditions millions live with every day. To treat them as a clerical nuisance is to treat customers as expendable. That's not oversight. It's neglect, the kind that makes you wonder if profit margins always sit higher than public safety on their priority list. And here's the emotional twist. Frozen pizza is supposed to be comfort, a warm blanket at the end of a cold shift. But once you know Hy-Vee's history, every slice comes with a shiver. It's like hugging a friend who forgot to mention they're covered in poison ivy. You feel the sting later, and the betrayal hits harder than the rash. So should you trust Hy-Vee's frozen pizzas today? The record shows no proof of real reform, no transparency, no public pledge that history won't repeat itself. If they brushed off something as glaring as soy, what invisible corners might they still be cutting now? That Hy-Vee display case may sparkle, but what lies beneath could be as hollow as an empty crust. For those who still want frozen convenience without the hidden risks, safer choices exist. Try Lou Malnati's frozen deep dish, Home Run Inn classic pizzas, or California Pizza Kitchen's thin crust. Line, all brands that publish clear allergen labeling and operate under tighter third-party checks. Even Papa Murphy's take and bake options, sold refrigerated for same-day baking, come with transparent ingredients and stronger local oversight. These alternatives don't erase the sting of Hy-Vee's past, but they remind you that trust doesn't have to be baked with secrecy. Number 5. Farm Rich. Farm Rich doesn't want you to remember the day their name became synonymous with an outbreak, but it's impossible to ignore the stain. Their frozen snacks, mini pizzas, quesadillas, mozzarella bites, were at the center of one of the most alarming E. coli O121 contaminations in the frozen aisle. Nearly 200,000 pounds of product were recalled. 35 people across 19 states fell ill, and almost a third of them were hospitalized. Some even developed hemolytic uremic syndrome, a kidney failure that can scar a family forever. These weren't isolated luxury items. They were cheap freezer staples bought by working families, retirees stretching fixed incomes, and kids reheating after school. Convenience became camouflage for catastrophe. You'd expect an event this devastating to spark a reckoning, press conferences, apologies, sweeping reforms. But Farm Rich's approach was a disappearing act. Once the outbreak cooled from the headlines, the company slid back into silence. No widespread accountability, no visible pledge of safety, no explanation of what went wrong in their production lines. It was as if they wanted the public to hit defrost on memory and move on. Yet for the families saddled with hospital bills, trauma, or lingering health problems, the silence was a slap in the face. E. coli doesn't just happen. It comes from unsanitary machinery, contaminated ingredients, or neglected protocols. That outbreak was a red flag waving over systemic failures. But Farm Rich never let the public peek behind the curtain. Were new audits conducted? Did independent inspectors step in? Or did corporate leaders just hope the freezer frost would cover the cracks? The absence of proof fuels suspicion. If they hid one outbreak behind PR spin, what prevents them from hiding another? Consumers haven't forgotten entirely. On forums and consumer complaint boards, Farm Rich still gets dragged into conversations about unsafe frozen foods. Buyers grumble about poor texture, freezer burn, and flavor inconsistencies, small signs that their operations still cut corners. And the twisted irony? Their branding never changed. They still market family snacks and comfort convenience, a cheerful mask over a legacy of negligence. Here's the roller coaster of emotion: shock at the outbreak, disgust at the silence, anger at the lack of accountability, and finally the creeping suspicion that nothing has really changed. It's like sending your child to school with lunch money only to find out the cafeteria has been serving spoiled meat, then watching the principal smile and insist everything is fine. So should you trust Farm Rich's frozen pizza snacks today? The record says no. No clear reforms, no transparent audits, no assurance that systemic rot was ever cut out. Their quiet recovery was less about protecting consumers and more about protecting profits. The better question is, could it happen again? If frozen pizza snacks are a must in your freezer, safer alternatives exist. Try Totino's Party pizzas, Bellatoria's frozen thin crusts, or Jack's Pizza for budget-friendly but better monitored products. Brands like Amy's and Rouse, though pricier, carry stronger transparency and ingredient sourcing. Even regional options like Connie's Frozen Pizza or Palermo's have maintained cleaner safety records than the ghosts haunting Farm Rich. Because at the end of the day, heating up a mini pizza shouldn't mean heating up an old wound that a corporation never bothered to heal. Number 6. Ready Dough. Ready Dough Pizza Inc. thought they could slide under the radar with a recall so hushed it barely made a ripple. Their Cuban-style pepperoni pizza, over 10,000 pounds of it, was yanked because it broke almost every rule in the book. No USDA inspection, no accurate labels, undeclared allergens like milk, wheat, and soy. That isn't one red flag. That's a carnival of negligence waving in your face. Yet the company acted as if silence was the best disinfectant. Let's call it what it was. Pizzas made in a facility that had never seen a federal inspector, stamped with boxes missing vital information, and slipped onto shelves where unsuspecting families, many in working-class neighborhoods, scooped them up. If you're allergic to soy or sensitive to gluten, one careless bite could have meant an ambulance ride. And Ready Dough's defense? Essentially, relax. No one got sick. That's like a reckless driver bragging, "I sped through the school zone, but hey, no kids were hit." What makes this so insidious is how quickly the company vanished from the spotlight. No town hall apology, no announcement of reforms, no evidence of outside auditors being brought in to clean up the mess. Just a curtain drop, leaving consumers to wonder whether their kitchens had become the stage for a food safety farce. The lack of accountability lingers louder than any press release could, and the questions don't stop. If Ready Dough skipped inspections once, how many other times did they gamble on being invisible? If allergens were left off packaging, what else might they have forgotten? Safe handling instructions? Ingredient sources? Expiration protocols? This wasn't a typo. It was a system of shortcuts, as though food safety was a game of hopscotch rather than a duty to the public. For older Americans who reach for frozen pizza as an affordable fallback, this kind of betrayal hits harder. You think you're saving time and money, but instead, you're swallowing uncertainty. The irony bites deep. A brand selling comfort wrapped its consumers in fear they never even realized they were carrying. Imagine microwaving dinner for your grandkids and realizing the pizza cubana you trusted was laced with invisible allergens and untested production. That's not nourishment, it's negligence reheated. So what now? Should Ready Dough's pizzas be trusted today? With no evidence of reforms, no transparency, and no public acknowledgement, every box in circulation feels like thin ice underfoot. Until they prove otherwise, each purchase isn't a meal. It's a gamble. But you don't have to take that risk. Other frozen pizza brands operate under far stricter oversight and clearer labeling. Tony's, Gino's East, and Screamin' Sicilian maintain stronger transparency in allergen disclosures. Palermo's and Freshetta are produced under federally inspected facilities with established safety track records. Even store brands like Kroger's Private Selection or Target's Good and Gather have invested in clearer labeling and customer-accessible allergen information. These may not be perfect, but compared to Ready Dough's history, they're a far safer bet. Before you toss anything with a Ready Dough logo into the oven, pause. Ask yourself, are you warming up dinner or are you reheating a brand's old lies served on a cardboard tray? Number 7. DiGiorno. DiGiorno sells itself as the warm hug of frozen pizza. It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno. But peel back the slogan and you'll find a recall from 2021 that refuses to melt away. Nearly 28,000 pounds of their crispy pan crust pepperoni pizza were recalled because the boxes lied. Inside what was advertised as a meat-only pie lurked soy protein, an undeclared allergen that millions of Americans cannot safely consume. Soy isn't a sprinkle you can ignore. It's one of the top allergens that can cause throat swelling, breathing trouble, or even death. And yet the brand acted as if this oversight was just another typo in the freezer aisle. Let's not sugarcoat it, or cheese coat it. A mislabel of this magnitude is not an oops, it's a system failure. It suggests lazy production oversight, broken cross-checks, or auditing gaps that allow dangerous errors to slide into kitchens nationwide. Think of it this way. You grab a pepperoni pizza expecting indulgence, but you're gambling with hidden ingredients that your body never consented to. That's not dinner. It's deception with extra toppings. And where was the accountability? The recall was handled like a whisper campaign, a quiet announcement, no primetime apology, no sweeping promises of reform, no transparency about whether allergen protocols were re-engineered, no independent verification, just business as usual. DiGiorno's silence was as loud as a slammed freezer door. If they cared about trust, wouldn't they have shown receipts? New training? New audits? Stronger allergen labeling? Instead, the box design still shines bright while the credibility inside runs thin. For older shoppers, seniors on fixed incomes, working-class families stretching budgets, the betrayal stings harder. Frozen pizza isn't just a snack, it's often the reliable fallback when money and energy are short. To find out the brand snuck undeclared soy into their safe dinner is like discovering the bus driver on your daily route sometimes forgets to hit the brakes. How much faith would you put in that ride tomorrow? The roller coaster of emotion is sharp. Shock that your trusted pizza carried an invisible threat. Betrayal that the label wasn't the truth. Disbelief that a brand this big could overlook an allergen. And finally, the gnawing suspicion. What else don't we know? Without proof of reform, every DiGiorno purchase feels like thin ice cracking under your feet. And let's not forget, consumer complaints about DiGiorno's quality still pop up. Pizzas arriving soggy, crusts like cardboard, toppings uneven. These aren't minor quirks. They're hints that production corners are still being cut. Combine that with a history of allergen negligence, and you have a brand asking for trust while delivering doubt. So, should DiGiorno be in your freezer today? That's a question only you can answer, but here's a thought. If they once gambled with something as serious as allergen labeling, why assume the gamble is over? If you want pizza without hidden risks, turn to alternatives with stronger safety reputations. Brands like California, Pizza Kitchen, Red Baron, Bellatoria, and Home Run Inn have shown clearer allergen transparency and tighter controls. Even Newman's Own and Rouse, though pricier, carry reputations built on quality checks rather than whispered recalls. These aren't perfect brands, but they aren't carrying DiGiorno's history of silent hazard either. When you pass by that bold red DiGiorno logo, ask yourself, are you buying pizza? Or are you buying the quiet hope that lightning won't strike twice? Before your next bite, question what's truly hidden in that box. Subscribe now. Join us. Expose the truth together.
Thanks a lot for sticking with us to the very end. If you found this video useful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you won't miss any daily uploads. And now go ahead and explore some of our top recommended videos popping up on your screen. Goodbye and see you in the next one.